What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Oscar's Cozy Corner. Now, if there's one thing that I think that every single Disney Dreamlight Valley player should have, that thing would be some sort of storage system. It doesn't matter if that's a storage island, it doesn't matter if that's a room in your house, or even just some chests strewn in one of your most frequented biomes. Having some sort of storage system is really, really helpful when it comes to collecting and, of course, storing resources for use within the game. Ever since I upgraded my storage to a storage island, it has never been easier for me to run over there, drop stuff off in one place, and then move on. But equally, I know that people love to create storage houses where each room is a different sort of storage room for various resources or different DLCs. So today I've got a really quick and easy storage room for you inside a house that is Wishblossom Ranch themed, specifically Winnie the Pooh themed, as we are getting Tigger with the release of Wishblossom Ranch in the next few days. Even though I use a floating storage island myself, I really love how this storage room turned out, so I might actually use this one to begin with for the first few weeks of the DLC and then decide if I move over to my storage island. I just think it looks really cool. It's really, really easy. I'm not kidding you. You can build along with me right now. We're going to do it all in real time. So let's just get straight into it. We're going to head straight into my house, start with a blank room, and let's get building. All right, so here I am in my house, just in a random room on a random floor. It doesn't really matter where you pick your room, just somewhere easily accessible for you. I think this is on my second floor, but I know that this is an 8x8 room, so I know that you can expand and shrink the rooms now. This, I think, is just the standard 8x8, so you shouldn't need to spend any star coins to adjust the size. But as you can see, pretty standard blank canvas to get working with. Now, instead of doing a mood board as I usually do, I favorited items. I tend to do that with indoor builds, and then I use a mood board outside. Just makes it a little bit easier because there's limited space to work with inside. So if I go into my favorites, you can see here, these are the items that I'm planning on using. Really not that many. Some of them are premium shop items. So there is the Naboo windows in here. There is the beehive box and stuff like that. So it is worth noting, if you don't have any of these items, maybe you'll need to pick them up in your recommended, or you can just swap them out for something else that fits. That is absolutely fine as well. It is your storage room after all. But you can see the general vibe is that kind of like honey vibe. So we are going with Pooh because I do love Pixie Acre. It looks like it's going to be a really fun biome. And to be honest, we don't have that much alpine stuff at the moment. So we're going to bring in a few little alpine influences, but on the whole, it's going to be mostly Winnie the Pooh themed. So I'm going to get started with wallpaper and flooring. Now, I've already picked the honeycomb wallpaper, and I just think this really encapsulates the vibe of the entire room. This definitely makes it feel Pooh themed almost immediately. It's got a lovely shine to the top of the wallpaper as well, which I really like. So just on the whole, this is a fun wallpaper. I think it came with the actual honey hive house. So you may need that to be able to use this wallpaper, but there are yellow wallpapers that you could replace this with if you really needed to. I've also picked the wonky wood for the flooring. No other reason than I just think it's a little bit quirky. I like the way that it is, in fact, wonky, and the color tone does seem to match a little bit better on the actual wallpaper. So if I undo that, you can see that there's a slightly different tone in the default kind of flooring. So I just really like the lighter aspect. It brings it up a little bit because we do have some darker floors that match these darker bits of the honeycomb, but they do feel a little bit dark. I think you have to have a very specific aesthetic you're going for with that. So this wonky floor, for me, is perfect for this build. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the ceiling as well, because we have that ability now. Oh, you can see that it's already changed. How interesting. It was white the last time I checked, but I'm going to keep that as wonky wood as well. You can choose different ones if you like. There's obviously celestial, there's wooden puzzle pieces, but for me, having the flooring and the ceiling match, I think just brings it all together. It doesn't make it feel too big or too open. It just kind of like encloses it slightly. And that's the vibe that I really wanted to go for. Just kind of cozy, I suppose. That is what I'm going for with this storage room. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab these painted cottage chests. This is the large version. You can purchase these from Scrooge's store in the Storybook Vale. Of course, you are relying on RNG and the randomness of Scrooge's stock to be able to pick these up. However, once you do get them, they are pretty invaluable. Honestly, unless you want the aesthetic of a larger chest that we craft, there's really no need to do that anymore. because you can buy large chests. You can even use the Aladdin chests, which do not require any Dreamlight. But if you have these, I recommend using them. Also, they kind of match just about that alpine aesthetic from the Wishing Alps. If I bring in the floral alpine post, it's not a perfect match, but you know, it's got the painted kind of vibe to it. So I would recommend using these if you can, but of course you can use whatever chest you like. If you want to use large yellow chests, they would look absolutely fantastic too. But because I don't want to craft them, we're going to go with the purchasable ones from Scrooge. So my initial idea was to have some sort of circular theme here, because I do a lot of square edges in my builds and in my storage room anyway on the Forgotten Floating Island. So I'm thinking if I do something that has like a little bit of curvature to it, it's just something a little bit different. It feels a little bit cuter. So you can see here that I'm trying out creating a circle, and I think we're going to be able to actually get there. I use that one, another rotation, just like that. You can see that it's slightly off center, but that's because my door is off center. So let's move that across there. And already I feel like that's pretty cool. I like how that looks. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to remove these ones just for now. And then I think I'm going to have to bring everything across by a couple tiles. So if I do one tile and one tile, that evens everything out. So I'm just going to bring everything across by one to make sure that it's properly centered in the room. Then we'll just do exactly the same thing on the other side. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Easy. So we've actually got 3, 6, 9, 12 chests in here. As for the amount that you need, honestly, I can't answer that right now. I don't know what the resource is going to be like with Wishblossom Ranch. I don't know how much stuff we're going to get. I feel like 12 is a good baseline, as long as you've kind of got one for like fish, one for flowers, one for digging resources, one for gems. You could probably get away with less than 12, but I think just in general, at least 12 is a half decent baseline, and you can always use one as overflow. And of course, you can add more or take away as you see fit. There's no hard and fast rules with something like this, but I think just for this aesthetic, this circular aesthetic, the 12 works really nicely. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is change this door straight away. So I was toying with different doors. We have a couple of versions. We've obviously got the painted cottage upstairs. And I nearly used this when I did a test build for this. But my only issue with using this painted cottage is that it expands the walls. So when you join this room, you kind of like hit this. It's really difficult to navigate because the walls actually bring themselves out. What we should be seeing is just the inside. And then when you've actually kind of like moved your camera around to it, it should disappear like all of the other walls do. So for now, even though I wanted to use that one, it's not on the cards for me, just simply from a usability perspective. I don't know if it's just me that has this issue, but unfortunately it rules that door out. However, I do think that the royal candy doors look pretty well, mostly because the middle section that is kind of like that glossy gold kind of reminds me of honey. So I think it fits. I think it looks pretty cool. And we're going to go with that for this set of doors. So next up, if we go back to my favorites, I've got the Corona pillar. Now I believe that this is from a premium shop bundle as well, but this is actually most like the stuff we have from the Wishing Alps from Wishblossom Ranch. So I'm going to pop one of those in each corner because I don't want it to be exclusively Winnie the Pooh themed, even though it's mostly leaning that way with the honey. I just think it would be nice to bring in a couple of little alpine elements to kind of represent the other biome as well. Unfortunately for Cruella, I can't really find anything that fits with Glamour Gulch to fit into this room, so it's going to be a mishmash of 2 biomes and not the third, but that's okay. And the thing that I really like about these columns and these pillars is actually the tone of the wood is quite similar to this brown on the wallpaper. So the column itself kind of matches. And then the painted or just the reddish wood does match these painted chests. So I know that the lightness of the wood is different, but I really like that there's a bit of contrast in it. But you can kind of see it's got that red undertone to the wood. So it's not as if we're working with like an orange wood or a yellow wood. It all kind of fits together nicely. Coming back to my actual favorite section, I think the next thing we'll do is maybe pop in maybe pop in some windows. Now, I've got these Naboo windows from the Naboo interior bundle, I believe, that we had in the premium shop when we had the Star Wars items in the game. Again, I've chosen this because I really like that the curtains, even though I don't know if you'd have these alpine curtains in the Wishing Alps houses or buildings, but the curtains match that same red undertone as the pillar. So the color story is already coming together from what you can see here on the screen. And then on top of that, I just really like the shape of the windows. Plus, they've got some foliage on them, so it brings a little bit of green in, because we do know that Pixie Acres is very green, it's very vibrant, it's very full of life. So I just think on the whole, these already tie together really well. Maybe the door's the only thing that kind of doesn't fit, but you can see if I could use that painted cottage door, it would go really nicely, because even that matches the sort of alpine vibe. But for now, we'll stick with those candy doors. You don't really see them all that much unless you're leaving anyway. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring in some of the beehive boxes. So I'm bringing these in, obviously, for the honey theme, because I want them to be Winnie the Pooh themed. And I just think they fit the room really, really well. I think they look really cool. Plus, we know that we're getting bees as a critter in Wishblossom Ranch. So when you actually turn these on, they do give out little bees that buzz around. Now, having bees inside might not be ideal. I've actually experienced that. Very traumatic, might I add. However, for this particular game and this aesthetic, I think it works quite well. So I'm going to leave those just as a 1, 2, 3. And I think working in kind of quadrants for this build gives us a nice aesthetic. It gives us a nice symmetrical, even look to it. And it's just very pleasing to the eye, which is what I love. So we're going to place those right in front of each window on each wall. Next up, I'm going to grab some of the orange leaf rugs. And I'm actually just going to place these under each of the central chests in each section. Just like that. Nothing too complicated. Just brings in that yellow sort of tone. Interestingly, this is the orange leaf rug, but it does look yellow in this room. The yellow one, I think, is going to be too yellow. So we want to keep within the same kind of color family. And that does quite well. It just adds a nice little bit of texture to the floor. So we've got one of those leaves pointing from each direction into the room. And then I'm going to grab the fairy garden table. Now, I believe this was from the Alice in Wonderland Star Path, I think. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. However, given what we know about Pixie Acres so far, and the giant insects, all of the really whimsical kind of like natural elements, I feel like this table is perfect, and I feel like I'm going to use this table everywhere when we actually get access to that biome. But I think for now, right in the middle, breaks up the space, adds a nice little bit of, I don't know, texture, I guess, with the spider web coming over the top. And just underneath it, I think I'm going to place this rounded rug just to bring in a really nice contrasting color in the blue. I just think it sets it off a little bit. I think it just adds, like I said, that contrast to the center of the room, because I don't want everything to kind of blend together and then you've just kind of got this like really big splash of blue in the middle, which I like. And the reason I've gone with the blue is the actual honey pots that we do have blue in them. So I think it's a really nice kind of like accent color to use, even though it's not quite as bright. Well, actually, the kind of darker blue on this rug does match the one on the honey pot. And what I thought of was putting these decorative honey pots right in the center of that table as well, just so it really reinforces that Winnie the Pooh theme and really ties together kind of that honey sort of thematic aspect that we're going for. And on top of that, we've got these big pile of honey pots, which I'm going to place next to each pillar. Just something like that. Again, bringing that blue into different areas, bringing the blue into the corners as well as the middle, just helps it all feel a little bit more cohesive. So I'm just going to place one of those on each side of the pillar. Just like that. And then we've got honey dripping from the top of the walls. We've got honey dripping from the bottom of the walls. We've got honey dripping everywhere. It's a honey fest. It is a honey fest. But you can see this is nearly done already. And it looks so good. I absolutely love it. So I am going to get the arched windows. Yeah, the arched windows. I think that these are just from Scrooge. And I'm just going to place one of these each side of the Naboo windows. And then for the door, we probably have to go about there and there, just so it's the same spacing all of the way around, so it matches. Because I don't love something that doesn't match. You know me by now. We like symmetry. That's what we like. And it just gives a little bit more light to the room, especially indoors, where the sunlight can come through the windows. It just brightens the space up a little bit and gives us some natural sunlight, which is exactly what I'm after. The floral alpine signposts, this was a redemption code, I believe, from the showcase. So I'm going to place one of these down, maybe there and there. Just looking. The best place to put them, or perhaps that way. I don't want to block too much of the honey pot. So I'm just thinking where is best place to put these. Well, if I place it there, that goes right in front of it. So I guess I could go back one and have something like that, because you can change the icons on each of these. So my logic was, if you wanted to have something specific in each of the chests, you could do that. You could say this one's gems, this one is fish. I don't think we can fit one in the back here because it does encroach on where we have that central one. However, I do have an alternative for you for that. If you did want something on a table, let's say you had gems in this one, you had fish in this one, and you wanted vegetables in the center one, but there's no sign for it, you can bring this table forward just a little bit. Then if I jump into tables and we scroll down just a little bit, I believe there is one in here somewhere that is a little bit darker or a little bit more red in tone. It's this Corona side table. You will be able to just put one of those just behind it, and then you could put like a carrot on it or some sort of vegetable to give you an idea of what is in there. So you've got sign, visual representation, sign. I'm not going to do that just for this one because generally with such little chests, it's quite easy to remember where stuff is, but I did want to give you that option. It just breaks that circle element for me personally, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that for now. But I think maybe we bring these alpine posts. Actually, no, we'll bring the honey pots just a little bit closer to each of the pillars, just like that. So we're just going to bring those back one in each corner, and that'll give us the ability to have the alpine posts in the place that I want them without blocking the view. So one right there, one right there, one there, and then you can just do this on each side and it's really easy to remember. One more there, and one more there. So I believe that's all in the right place, although actually these look a little bit close. They've got to be slightly closer to the windows, just like that. So I'm lining them up with the doors on this side, and then I'm lining them up with the Naboo window on that side. So then you can still see the actual posts, and you can still see the honey pots behind them. So that looks great. Moving on back to my favorites. I think we're near enough done. So for the time being, I'm going to move on to lighting. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use these geometric pots, and I'm going to place one in each corner. Now, these are just little spotlights, and they do add just a nice little glow to the room. Like in the daytime, it's quite hard to see, but when it does get to nighttime, and when it actually gets to the evening in your game, the lighting changes inside of these rooms. So you can offset the lighting in the settings, that works, but actually when your physical time, wherever you may be in the world, gets to evening time, the lighting in the game changes as well. I've never been able to replicate that, so if it's 9 p.m. for me, I can't offset my time at 12 p.m. in the day to 9 p.m. and have the same effect. It has to physically be 9 p.m. for the lighting to look slightly different. It's worth bearing that in mind. So I'm just going to place those down for now, and then hopefully later this evening, they will have a nice glow to them. And then the final thing that we're going to place in is these beehive lamps. Now I'm thinking maybe we have one this side, and then we can create our own little circle just on the top. But I think we need to bring that back maybe one spot, two spots, just like that. So we've got a circle around there as well. mimicking the circle of the chests underneath. And that was easy. Look at that. We've already got a storage room for Wishblossom Ranch. So here's a little look from my character's point of view. We've kept that really nice circular idea that we were going for. Everything is within easy reach. So we've got each chest available. And of course, we can change those signs to show whatever we want on the inside of those chests. If you wanted to change those signs, all you need to do is move them in decorating mode into the center of the room, change the icon, and then put them back. So we've got one on each side. Of course, we've got these little bee houses as well that you can turn on. And then you do get some really adorable bees coming out to represent the critters in Wishblossom Ranch, which I think is adorable. We'll turn each of those on. We've got the nice windows bringing in some light. You can see here the window is bringing in that sunlight on this side, which I really love. And then, of course, we've got the honeypots dotted around with the corona pillars and that really nice mushroom table in the middle with the honeypots on. Very representative of Pixie Acre, very representative of Winnie the Pooh and the excitement that people will feel for Tigger to come to the game. All right, gang, that is it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed building that storage room with me. Like I said at the top of the video, I do love how it turned out. I think I might actually use this for the foreseeable future as we enter those first few weeks of Wishblossom Ranch. But of course, you can create a storage room at any time, so you don't have to create one immediately. You can create one in a few months, or if you're finding this video in 6 or 7 months' time, feel free to use it as well. That is what it is here for. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a like, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Disney Dreamlight Valley content. I'm Oscar, you're you. Let's get together and create a cozy little corner of the internet. But with all of that being said, I am going to leave it there for today. I genuinely do hope that you enjoyed this video. So hopefully I will catch you in the next one. And of course, I will see you in the valley.